raising women's voices.
One story at a time.
Welcome to the She Said Project podcast.
Well, hello. If you are hearing the sound of my voice or seeing my beautiful smile, you must be enjoying another episode of the She Said Project podcast. I'm so happy to be your host, Jeanette Jerzyk, National Director of the She Said Project. Thank you for being here. And thank you to my lovely, brilliant, talented co-host, Carrie Rosso, co-founder.
Like Jeanette Jerzyk.
I know. Does it feel weird to say your own name? I feel like I should introduce you. You should introduce me.
Yeah.
Have a dialogue.
Yeah, it feels too fancy to be like Carrie Rosso. Good to see you.
You need to do it like James Bond. Rosso.
Carrie Rosso. Yeah, I like that.
I like that too.
Yeah.
That works really well. It does not work for my name. I can't. Jerzyk.
Jerzyk. It sounds like Bueller.
It's a very hard sounding name. It's very Eastern European.
But it carries a lot. I think it'd be fun if we just followed each other around. And this is my co-host Jeanette Jerzyk, and
just in all things. Mm-hmm. I'm Jeanette, and this is my co-host Carrie.
Yeah.
Welcome
at
Welcome
the grocery
to our world.
At a neighborhood barbecue.
I like this.
Throw that out.
This is a plan.
It'd just be fun to see how people react.
I mean, I am your number one fan. It's true. I know you get.
Likewise.
There's some fangirling that happens in this town. You know, people are like, oh, you know Carrie Rosso. Yes, I do. I work with her. She's great.
Oh, guilty. Yeah.
No, but I've been your fan for a very, very long time. And, you gave me a chance and I found my calling and I get to work with a lot of amazing women because of That's What She Said. And I was listening to the opening One Story at a Time, which is, how we introduce the podcast. But when we put on a live show, we're actually, empowering 8 or 9 or 10 women to share their stories at one time. We only reveal one of them on the podcast, but the shows are pretty magical because you're connecting with real women, and you love being in the audience when you haven't been involved in the preparation or producing of the show, and you get to hear the stories for the first time.
I was wondering how that would go, because now that, thanks to you, because the show is growing and expanding in different cities, we can't be part of the lead up to every show. And I was kind of sad about that until I went to my first show that I hadn't been part of the lead up. And it was so fantastic because I got to see it with fresh eyes and hear stories that I hadn't read or edited or, practiced with. It really gave me the experience of just sitting there and listening and hearing.
I think the pride I feel when watching another producer show is it's kind of like layered, because I'm proud when I watch women that I've helped, coach getting ready for the stage. But when it's another producer show, like I either worked with them or empowered them or coached them to bring the show to life. And so my pride is like multiplied.
It's true. And just like I can tell when you have I see your fingerprints on stuff.
Yeah.
It's really great in other shows too, while it stays true to our mission and what we want the show to be, you also see the fingerprints of those directors and making it their own within, staying in this umbrella of sisterhood.
Yes, you have nailed it on the head of the nail.
Thank you.
Because That's What She Said. One of my favorite things is how unique it can be. There's a formula that works, but it can fit someone else's vision. It can be part of a larger event. It can be, I've seen them in an afternoon performance, in an evening performance. Some have a pre-party, some have an after party. Like there isn't one formula that works every single time. And it is really fun to watch new producers come on board and make it their own.
Well, you know what I think that we should start tracking is the age of those producers. So when we did She Said the first year, we were 40-ish. And the show started at like 8. We had an after party. We were crazy. And now I'm 54, and we literally have a matinee. And the first show, I wore some fancy heels from Circle's Boutique. And the last time I was on stage, I literally wore sensible tennis shoes.
We had to write it into like the MC dialogue, the opening of the show, because we're like, We're wearing sensible shoes. It's 2:00 in the afternoon.
I had on a tunic. For goodness sake.
I wasn't going to reveal that for you, so I'm glad you brought that up. But it's
true.
That is a really we should do that. We should track the ages of new producers and see. I mean, we've been doing this for 13 years now, but yeah, it's a different vibe.
Time of show and clothing choices.
Clothing choices.
It's like the We Do Not Care Club, if you've heard of that. Like, I don't care about my
I have seen some of her stuff. Some of our producers walk out on that stage, and I mean, dressed to the nines. You know who I'm talking about, Allie Teagarden. And so, but our guest today is from our first show in the Chicago area. They launched in Naperville in 2024. And I'm talking about Ellen Cleary and Lisa Elstrom.
Big love them.
And now Jennifer Richardson is actually, they have 3 ladies working the Chicago circuit, working together to do because there's a lot of moving parts to put on a show. And so, they are some pretty special, dynamic women with some really awesome wardrobe choices, I think.
I love it. Mm-hmm. I love it.
And I'm excited for you to meet today's guest because I got to be at her show. You weren't with me at this one, but she is something special.
All I can tell you, all I need to know about this person to know I'm going to love her is when I saw her background choice for today. I hope it's still up because when you see it, you're like, kabam.
Kabam. Let's bring her on out here. Kabam. Ada Cheng in the house. Yeah, no,
how are you?
Hello and welcome. This background does say a lot, but I think it fits.
I hope so. Like that's just right there. That says I'm going to love this person.
Do you see the sparkly green glasses?
I do.
Shimmery, shiny.
Ada, this is just
This is my good luck glasses. I wear this pair when I have special occasion, when I do performances, when I want to feel vibrant, and when I in a room with women that inspire me, and I always wear something that brighten my day, my spirit.
Well, you're killing it. You're brightening my day for sure. I need to get some good luck glasses.
Welcome, my dear. Welcome to the podcast. We get to spend the next 45 minutes or so getting to know you and the story you shared on stage. And That's What She Said, Naperville. Just about a year ago, you were in the 2025 cast, which would have been our second installment. And you got to work with Lisa and Ellen up there. Let's start at the beginning. How did you get connected to That's What She Said?
I was recommended by another producer who produces the People's Trees in Naperville. And that's just how I got connected with Lisa. And it has been great working with the two of them. I am a producer myself. I produce storytelling shows in Chicago. So just watching them, throughout this whole process and holding hands, really, walking with all the storytellers throughout this whole process. It was such a joy to watch them, both of them.
You are a talented performer, and it shows. You have incredible stage presence. Can you tell us a little bit about your performing background and the types of events that you produce?
I started out my career here. I was a tenure professor in sociology, so I actually don't have any performance background. And the story I told was how I was fed up with academia and I left the institution to pursue storytelling and performance. And so that's how I even started the journey of being an artist and storyteller and solo performer. So I didn't go to school for it. Everything I learned about performance and theater really is just by doing it, by doing a lot of shows, by performing. And what I recognize is this: a lot of people feel they have to be perfect on stage. What I oftentimes focuses on is the connection with the audience. And so, performance is something that the more you do it, the better you become. I still have stage fright, but I always know that there will be someone in the audience who will resonate with my stories. So that helps a lot.
So Ada, was this just was the writing on the wall right away? Were you that kid that was doing neighborhood performances or living room performances for your family, or is this new?
Well, here's the thing. When I was younger, I wanted to be an actor. I love theater. I thought of myself having a career in theater. But if you understand Asian culture, anything related to art is highly discouraged. So even though I had creativity, I was always, I still remember when I was a kid, I would watch TV and then I would go back to my room, repeat the script, right, the lines, and I would be pretending the actors. And, if people, giving birth, I would be giving birth in my room. If people are, having a fight, I would be having a fight in my room. So I literally just playing out characters in my room. But pursuing art is highly discouraged in the Asian culture. Parents wanted you to go to a school for degrees that would bring material goods and status, prestige. And so I never got a chance to pursue storytelling, performance, and art until I was, when I left the position, really I was facing this existential crisis, right? And when I say second chance, it really meant that I need something. I need to leave the life that I felt stuck, the life that I really didn't enjoy being the person that I was. And so second chance coming from that, I got to depart in order to come home to myself.
So I'm curious if you were comfortable in that space. So the co-founder of the show used to always say, "Leap and the net will appear," which sounds great if it's cross-stitched on a pillow. But it does not resonate with me. I'm not a leap and the net will appear girl. I want to be, but I'm not. So when you took that risk, were you comfortable in that or were you scared?
I'm an immigrant. So I left Taiwan 1991 and carrying 2 suitcases, right? Traveling halfway around the world. When I first arrived, I could speak some English, but I could barely write. So by getting the degrees, master degree, PhD, and then finally got tenure, right? I thought I really made it in the United States. So I thought I achieved the American dream. Now, when I got a position as got tenured, became a professor at the university, that was the pride for my family, right? Imagine that I had to tell my family, gosh, I had to leave my job and to become an artist, right? Imagine explaining to your family that you invested all this money and energy and time to choose as a career as an artist. And so number one, that's one that I couldn't, it took me more than a year to tell my family, like I couldn't explain to them that would be the choice that I made. How did I find out? My brother connected me through LinkedIn. I still didn't tell him. At the time, I published a mini memoir and he saw it and he read it. That's how he found out that I left the university. I waited for a long, long time to finally email him and say, by the way, probably you already knew from the title on the LinkedIn, I left the university.
Oh,
and
by
then
the
he
way.
said, that that's okay.
So you
as long
made
as you're
these
happy.
big life choices in secret and then had to reveal to your family. I don't want to give so much away because the audience gets to enjoy your story in just a moment. So let's take a quick pause and then we're gonna learn what happened next.
Thank you.
Okay, the conversation is getting really good. So we need to take a pause and go revisit Ada's story so that we can all get caught up and then hear what happens next. So please enjoy her performance, her story titled Second Chance from That's What She Said, Naperville 2025. Here is Ada Cheng.
One night in November 2015, 5 minutes before midnight, before I sent an email to my colleagues to resign from my teaching position, I asked myself one simple question. What was the question? You're going to find out later. I was a tenure professor in sociology at DePaul University from 2001 to 2016 when I resigned from my tenure position to pursue storytelling and performance. So how did I go from being a professor to a storyteller? Let me take you back to one August morning in 2015. 8:30 in the morning, and I'm sitting on my bed surrounded by my 3 cats. And they're looking at me, screaming, "Feed me, feed me." At that moment, I thought to myself, I think I'll do better as a stand-up comedian. I immediately went online to Second City website, and I decided that I was going to register for an improv class. As I was about to register for an improv class, I thought of something my mother said to me decades ago. Now, let me take you back to 1980, Taipei, Taiwan. I was about 16, 17 years old. I was home in our kitchen, opening the fridge, about to pour a glass of water for myself when my mother walked in. And she said, "Shuju," my name, my Chinese name, "what do you plan to major in college?" My parents and I, we didn't see eye to eye. My mother and I, we didn't get along. And that day, I decided to say something to irritate her. So I turned to her and said, "I want to major in theater and performance." Now, imagine telling your parents that you want to pursue a life of financial uncertainty and instability. In order to discourage me from pursuing my dream, this is how my mother responded. "Nah, you are not going to major in theater and performance. You are not going to make it. You are just not pretty enough." Don't worry, I'm healed. And I thought to myself, wait a minute. I was just trying to register for an improv class. What was I thinking about? Something my mother said to me that I wasn't good enough. And I thought to myself, wait a minute. I'm a grown woman. Why do I allow something somebody decades ago to affect my decision to pursue comedy? Besides, there are uglier people doing comedy than I am. So I went ahead and signed up for my very first improv class. And I still remember that summer, August in 2015, I was rolling on the floor, laughing out loud. I was chasing my younger classmates, playing improv games and playing different characters. I was feeling alive. I was pursuing my youthful dream. I was feeling happy, a feeling that I didn't know I could still have. And then when fall came, everything felt different. At night, I would be taking classes, I would be performing. I was feeling passionate, rejuvenated. And then during the day, when I went back to the classroom, teaching felt like a job for me. That was when I realized that I loved my students, but I just wasn't in love with teaching anymore. But then I didn't know what to do with this job that everybody so coveted. I came to this country in 1991 as an international student. When I first arrived, I could speak some English, but I could barely write. not to even envision getting a PhD or getting published. And then by the time I got my PhD, got tenured, published by 2006, I thought I made it in the United States. I thought I achieved my American dream. I had status, prestige, respect, middle-class lifestyle. I had everything except one thing: happiness. I just wasn't happy. But then I didn't know what to do with this successful immigrant narrative. So in the next few weeks, I would struggle with this decision. I will go to school and feeling unfulfilled, and then I will go home and I will cry to myself. And then I will ask myself, do I continue to do this until the age of 65 when I retire? And then one night, I'm sitting in my apartment feeling miserable. My beautiful cat, Sarah, wanting to be petted. She came to me. And I was so unhappy and miserable, I yelled at her, "You go away." And at that moment, when I was yelling at her, I could picture myself hurting her in my head. You know who else I was thinking about? I was thinking about my father. My father passed away 2 years before I left Taiwan. He was this typical Asian man, worked hard to support his family. But he was deeply unhappy with his life. And when he felt oppressed at work, he came home and took it out on his family. At that moment, when I was yelling at my cat, I realized I was turning into someone toxic, someone abusive, someone I spent decades running away from, and someone like my father. And for me, whatever the university was paying me, it just wasn't worth it. I didn't want to become someone I didn't even like. So that one night, November 2015, 5 minutes before midnight, I realized that night was the night that I had to make a decision. I could no longer get stuck at a crossroad. Either I jump off the cliff, fly high, or I perish forever. So I asked myself one simple question. What was the question? And the question was, am I going to be okay if I had to wait tables and wash dishes? I got a PhD, but I didn't have any marketable skills outside of academia. Oh, some of you know. I spent my whole adult life in the United States in academia. I didn't know what I could do after I left. I didn't have any roadmap in front of me. Am I going to be okay if I had to wait tables and wash dishes? And the answer is yes. At least I will be happy. So again, I sit in front of my computer and I started typing. Dear colleagues, after 15 years of teaching, it's time for me to leave. And I hit send. And that was how I quit my tenure position without consulting with anyone. And that was one of the best decisions I have ever made in my life. Since 2016, I've been telling personal stories and done my 2 solo performances all over the world. Since 2017, I've been producing storytelling shows for people to tell difficult and vulnerable stories. I took a chance on myself, and I gave myself a second chance in life. Thank you.
Oh, Ada, you took
Ada.
a second chance and gave yourself a second chance on life. Thank you for sharing, because that is a message, a story that needed to be told.
Well, we always say it's never too late to rewrite your script, but wow, like you like rewrote your script, but you tore up the original and lit that thing up and smoked it. I was like, oh my gosh, Ada, you are a brave person. Did you feel like I'm brave and I'm doing big things, or were you like, ooh?
Later, I think, earlier we were talking about how difficult it was. And I think one of the things is, how do you define success, right? Without institutional affiliation, without a monthly salary, without status, without condo, without material, goods. And I literally had to redefine success and what that meant for me. It was hard, right? Particularly as an immigrant, you work hard. And sorry if I started crying. I cry all the time. I work hard, right? I work hard for decades for this. But at some point, you got to realize, when you're so unhappy, that's enough to really push me to make that decision. But I think the fact that was a really pivotal moment, that interaction with my cat. And I want to say this, I don't think I mentioned that sentence in the show. There was a sentence, there was a thought in my head, and that thought was, I'm glad I don't have children. Otherwise, I would be doing harm to them. Because I recognize that no matter how, self-righteous I felt, no matter what, I became a toxic person because I worked in a toxic environment, and it was not healthy. I recognized that I was becoming miserable, toxic, and abusive. And just that moment that I was interacting with my cat, it was enough to wake me up and say, this is not worth it. There are better ways to make a living. I would rather struggle, but I cannot allow myself to become someone filled with rage or doing harm to other people. And that was such a pivotal moment for me to know in life, there's more than success. And so I left without any direction, not knowing what to do. I have a sense of, okay, I have this degree. I'm not sure how I'm going to make it work. But I do know I will be happy. And that's enough for me. It was really at that existential crisis, that cliff. You just have to jump. And the only thing you can do is to make sure you fly high after you jump.
Yeah.
And that was that moment for me. And I have been lucky, to be honest. It has been, and after that I left, a few of my friends also left. And I have been lucky in terms of this journey since I left, in terms of telling stories and doing my solo performances. But truly is, how do you overcome fear, right? There's no way around it. The only way you can go through is to walk through that fear. And then you trust yourself. In this process, what I really learned is how to trust myself and know that I will be okay if I can make getting the PhD, if I can make this work, if I can get my PhD, if I can get my tenure track position, if I can get tenure and publish, I'm going to be okay. And it is such a liberating and freeing experience where I realize I don't need status to define me, to feel valuable, to feel important. I don't need status. I don't need prestige. I value myself. Um, and the most important thing is I don't wake up at night regretting what I didn't choose. I don't wake up at night feeling the lack of integrity, right? I sleep well. I live a life that I want to live, even though I have to work hard to make a living. But it's the most psychologically and emotionally freeing experience I have ever had.
Well, Ada, for you to have that epiphany, there are many people out there who know that they're in an environment that isn't their calling or their personal fulfillment, and they stay. It took so much courage for you to leave and realize just because you had achieved all of these things, that wasn't your personal definition of of happiness and success. It looked good on paper, but you never felt that achievement. And you keep referring to that moment with your cat, and yet it's so much more than that. That moment with your cat was symbolic, and you shared that, it reminded you of your father, and how he reacted when he was unhappy from work. So that moment with your cat was so much greater. And the fact that you recognized it is incredible. You were raised in a culture where there are certain expectations, and, it is what it is. And choosing happiness isn't necessarily considered a good or a noble thing. So I'm going to ask you, do you think your father was a happy man?
He passed away, before I left. And no, he passed away filled with regret. He died of cancer, and how that happened, he refused to see a doctor because he didn't want to acknowledge the fact that he was getting sick, and he didn't really want to know that as a man. He didn't want to face the possibility of being weak. So he knew something was wrong, but he refused to go see the doctor until one day he was hosting an event and he froze, couldn't speak. And that's how he went to the hospital. But when we told him the diagnosis, 7 months to live, he was at the final stage, 7 months to live. No, I don't think my parents was at that generation where they didn't have enough tools to come to the realization and awareness what it means to be a parent or a human being, or, when you're close to, death, do you want redemption? Do you want to ask for forgiveness? There was not that. He was thinking about, wow, my colleagues they're going to laugh at me. I feel ashamed as a man. Now I'm stuck in the bed. I can't go back to work. And he kept pushing me to get married because that was his duty, to see me married with grandchildren. That was, kind of his, and the kind of the last 7 months, that was what he was struggling with. But it was not necessarily any recognition or reckoning of, what had happened in his life, what he did wrong with my mother, or apologize to her. That was what I was looking for. But our parents can, give us what they didn't have. But what they allow us to do is to become better parents. And even my students understand that we can't demand our parents. But what it can teach us is how we can become better human beings. And so with him, with that experience, I said to myself, I don't want to be dead spiritually before I die. Because I really watch him live a life with regret. Both of my parents live a life with regret because they believe in sacrificing for their children, stay together for their children, even though it was an arranged marriage. They weren't happy. But at some point, this is really I encourage younger generation of Asian and Asian Americans. You don't need to sacrifice your happiness, autonomy, just to make your parents happy. You kind of have to think about what's the life that you want to lead. And I truly believe, after watching not just my parents, other people's parents, is you cannot be a good parent if you don't have a handle on your own life, if you are not happy with your own life, if you don't feel fulfilled with your own life. There is a connection in terms of the level of your own happiness with how you can be, how you can parent your own children. Otherwise, you're going to have resentment and toward your own children. And so I have to, I constantly talk to younger generations of Asians and Asian American students and young people, talk about you can still make a choice how to live your own life. You don't always have to, do what your parents, tell you to do. But if you do decide to pursue a career, may not be what you want to do, you can still change when the time comes. You don't need to feel that you have to get stuck, no matter how much money you're making or how much prestige that it brings you to your family. If it's time to go, it is okay to let go. That you just need to know how to take that courageous action when the time comes. So I use a lot of this story about leaving my own homeland, leaving my career, even though I have worked for it for decades, to encourage people that it's a very different time. We don't need to feel that we have to be stuck in one career. We can balance where social expectations and our own happiness and dream. There is a way to achieve what we want to do in our own dream while negotiating that kind of a social pressure with our parents. A lot of my messages really encourage people to think about you can change at any time, and you just need to trust yourself.
You have certainly proved that. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Oh my gosh, listening to Ada's journey, it's so inspiring.
It is. And the thing that was really striking me, I was thinking about the difference, how both of you were these little kids that dreamed of being in the theater. And the first thing that really struck me, Ada, when you were saying, I think it says a lot about your own generosity of spirit, that you recognized your dad, a lot of his behaviors could be directly linked to he was not fulfilled. He was in an environment where he felt oppressed. And when you don't have a full bucket, it's really hard to pour into someone else. And he had all those societal and social norms that he was worried and that he had absorbed. What will make my daughter happy? It came from a place of love. I need to get her a man. I need to get her a successful job. And that this is a beautiful way that I think you have honored them in doing this in a funny way. I think of Jeanette's parents. Jeanette wanted to go to be a theater kid. And you had parents who were like, absolutely, let's do that. But they had a very different upbringing, a different outlook. They had full buckets and were able to do that for you. And you've both honored your upbringing in two very different ways, but I think both really generosity of spirit.
And I have done my fair share of waiting tables and washing dishes, Ada. So I fully understand the challenges of a creative pursuit in your life. But that joy, that happiness, it's so worth it. So tell us about your performance life now, the stories, the events. Like, what does your life look like now?
I pretty much do performance full time. I teach at Dominican University, but pretty much the rest of the time, I do telling shows. And I'm going on a tour with my third solo performance, The Trouble with My Hair. So I will be heading to University of Georgia for the Women's History Month, and then to UIC, and then to Asheville Fringe Festival, and then to Los Angeles Women's Theater Festival. So this whole year, I will be going to different parts of Illinois, but also different states and different countries to perform my solo performance. And the trouble with my hair is really for us to use hair as a metaphor to explore our gender, sexual, and racial identity, and really think about the impact of heteronormativity and navigating the tension between social expectations and autonomy. So I pretty much, performances. I also coach people, tell stories. I also, offer storytelling workshops and presentations on how to use storytelling for a connection, to build a sense of belonging, and also to bring people together. Pretty much what the show is about. So that's pretty much most of the time. I try my best to make it work, but it is hard. If there's no money in art, so you really. So I oftentimes say you have to run your artist career as a business.
I just want to offer, if you have a need, I could come along and just like carry your suitcases. All of those things sounded so fun, and I could be of service. I could just carry your suitcase and trot along and fangirl beside you. Hey, I want to.
I was about to say, hire
I'm
me.
available. I'm available. Hey, Ada, I want to hear about what was the feedback after this show from people you know. Have you kept in touch with people in academia, your family response, friends response? What was the feedback?
It's very interesting. Even before I left, or after I left, a lot of my own friends in academia, they kept on telling me, "Oh, you're so brave. We're so jealous." And trust me, I know so many people in academia that they wanted to be out, but they don't know what's the way out. And I think for a lot of people, there is really like, let's watch what happened, right? I was 50 when I left my position, and everyone around me was saying that I was, out of my mind trying to do this when I was, middle-aged woman, and trying to do this competing with young people. And so a lot of people probably are waiting to see what could happen. But then along the way, I kind of just make it work. And now people are happy for me. But also in some way, I think there's also the regret, right? They could have done it, right? And perhaps they should have done it. But this is really what I tell people. A few years ago, I asked myself, if I were to die tomorrow, what would I regret doing or not doing? And I would say I would regret staying in academia, right? And so I left, because that was also the question that I asked myself. If I were to die tomorrow, what would I regret doing or not doing? And I knew I couldn't stay. I knew I would regret. And between regret and failure,
Well,
if I were to die, if I'm at my deathbed, what would I regret? Not trying or failure? And I think my choice would be, I would rather.
We're going to let our
fail.
friends ponder that. We're going to take a quick break. So what was the choice between regret and failure on your deathbed? It's your choice. You define what success looked like in the one precious life that you have.
Well, it is all that stuff, all the sayings that basically all say the same thing. You'll never make the shots you don't take. And I have done so many things that I've loved and enjoyed, but there are those things. I've told Jeanette this story before. I wanted to try theater, and I went to audition for Steel Magnolias. And I walked in, and everyone knew the lingo. I'd never been in anything in high school. I had never done anything, and everybody was in like black turtleneck and, you know,
Like you
they
are
all
today?
looked,
Yeah,
see, I just made it happen. But they all looked like they belonged, and everybody, I could hear everyone saying like, what have you been in? I did this, I did that. And I literally just like crumpled up my application, put it in the trash and left. And that will bug me for the rest of my life. There is no way they would have given me a part. Have you done anything? No. Do you have any theater experience? No. But the fact that I didn't even do it to this day bothers me. Like, why?
You
That's
gave up
where it
on
was.
yourself in that moment.
Yeah, I didn't even try. And so that really bothers me. And I think with you, Ada, it makes me so happy the representation of a woman in her 50s doing this. There are a lot of really funny young comedians, but I want to hear from other women in their 50s. What's funny to me is it's very different than what was funny to me in my 20s. I want to hear somebody else in their 50s.
I also want to say your story is an inspiration to women who are debating right now if they should make a big change.
Absolutely.
Like those young kids who you know start out in comedy and maybe have a great career. I mean, while it's entertaining, that's not an inspiring story to me or to someone else who, you know, went down one path and is trying to make a decision about making a huge change. So that story has so much value.
Absolutely. You know, when you think about women who ponder about divorce, what are they concerned about? I'm getting old. I'm this age. I'm not going to find someone else, right? Or I don't know if I can have a great future. But this is let me say this: ageism is real, right? We live in a society that we prioritize youth and value youth. But there's this idea that by the time you get to 40s or 50s, you should think about retiring. But I'm at the peak of my creativity. I feel vibrant and young, right? I'm still out there. I'm still, trying to get better. And so the way that the society is telling us that you get a job, have a family, by the time you get 40s and 50s, you are done. You're waiting to move to the kind of retirement and enjoy. That's not my experience. And I don't think we need to follow that particular script. I am a better honest artist now than 10 years ago. And I will be a better performer and playwright 10 years later. Why do we need to set a limit of when you should pursue another career, when you should pursue art and theater? And the unfortunate part is this, even just in the art scene, when artists become better, is exactly the time when they think about retiring, right? Or they feel that they have to retire because they need to think about how to earn money for their future. So we are actually witnessing older artists who have built experiences and credentials. Then toward the end, because we don't have enough financial support or general support for artists, that they might leave, or we in general do not support older artists. And that's something to think about, that it can be daunting. I'm not saying it's easy, but I do think that we need to rethink the way we conceptualize our life stage, where this idea that our life is going down as we age. How about our life just go up and down as we age? That we can have another spring in our 50s, in our 60s. We can still go through, I can still rock climb, I can still climb mountains, I can still dance, I can still do things. And I think we need to really encourage that part, encourage older, particularly women, right, pursue their passion. So we see older artists out there creating, and because they create very different kind of art.
But don't you think, Ada, like now that we've had it happen in our lives a couple of times, that we're doing better? I look back and think,
Yes.
now I know what it's like to look back and think I should have worn sunscreen. I would go back and wear a bikini every day of my life if I could do that over. But now I don't want to be 70 and look back at 54 and think, man, I wish I. So now that I've had that cycle a couple times, and I think now I feel much more likely to take risks and do bigger things because I think I don't want to be. Now I wear sunscreen. I don't wear bikinis, but I do usually. But I do wear sunscreen. So now it's like, you know what? We're getting better at it, don't you think?
Absolutely. There's also one thing I noticed. I think in general, as you get older, and found myself, by the time I get to 50s and 60s, right now, I don't care about what other people
There
think.
it is.
Meaning, I could care less. I think when we're younger, we care about, we're afraid of judgments. We're afraid, the shame or the fear. But now I'm older, it's like, I don't care. A lot of the self-doubt, the degree of our self-doubt is in relation to how much we care about what other people think. And I'm just old enough, like everybody is a hypocrite. Everybody is betraying themselves. And so why should I care about what other people think? I'm just going to do right. And there is something about that you free yourself of the social judgment, that you just pursue what you want. And that's actually an incredible asset because I see a lot of younger people just so concerned about, I'm afraid my friends might judge me. I am at this point is I'm okay being alone because I'm so comfortable with myself, right? I don't need external validation and approval. That I can trust myself. I'm okay being alone. I don't feel lonely. This idea that we are abnormal unless we have someone else, this idea that we need to care about. I live a very free life right now. And that's really important. That's the asset for older women is we just do what we want to do, what we need to do, and make things happen. The self-doubt really is about the fear of social
Ada,
judgment.
you could not be more correct. There are so many amazing lessons that you've shared today. And so clearly you are doing the work and doing the right thing. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today's episode. Ada, we need to stay in touch. We need more of this amazing inspiration.
Yes.
But thank you for your time today and for everyone joining us on the She Said Project podcast. See you next time. Thank you for listening to the She Said Project podcast. All materials contained in the podcast are the exclusive property of the She Said Project, and That's What She Said, LLC. For more information on our live shows, go to shesaidproject.com.